Help me. Please help me. I am a prisoner in the castle dungeon. My name is Zelda. The wizard Aghanim has done something terrible to the other girls. Now only I remain. Aghanim has seized control of the castle and even now is trying to open the sage's seal. I am in the dungeon of the castle. Please help me. Someone! I'm going out for a bit, but there's no need for you to worry. I'll be back by morning, but I don't want you leaving the house until then. Go back to bed and wait for me to return. Hey, what's going on there, friends? My name is M238 and welcome to The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, but I'm playing the Game Boy Advance version of the game. And most of you, well, by most I mean some of you, will probably know that I LP'd this game 7 years ago on September 1st, 2012. And, looking back at it, I'm not really proud of the quality of content that was provided when I did it. And in fact, I've been requested a few times to redo this, and so here I am redoing it now. And some people may be a little bit disappointed that I'm redoing this because I have played this game several times, or at least I streamed this game several times on my Twitch channel. And the fact that I'm redoing this again as an LP may sound a little bit disappointed, but I promise you, I'm gonna do the best I can. So, and this game is not very long of a game anyway, so hopefully I can do justice here. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and wake up. Uncle told us that, you know, we're supposed to, stay in bed, but, you know, screw the rules. We're going to ignore the rules here. We're a rebel. Okay, so, right off the bat, we got a lamp inside as our first item. And for your reference, this is not a randomizer, nor the Super Nintendo version of the game. This is just a normal playthrough of Link to the Past of the normal game. So, anyway, as soon as we fell down, our uncle just, we see our uncle, like, in the well, and unfortunately, he took a beating and has entrusted us with his weapon in order to save the world for him. I mean, will we succeed in that? I don't know. We don't even know what's going on here. All we know is that Zelda's being trapped. We gotta save Zelda because Zelda communicated with us telepathically, and you know, if we don't do this, then bad stuff will happen to Zelda, and we don't want bad things to happen to Zelda. You know, Zelda. According to Uncle, Zelda is our, like, special person. You know, I don't know what specific special class, because, you know, our uncle never really didn't specify. He just died right before he said what Zelda is to us, and, you know, that's a bad thing. It's funny because there are like a bunch of meme videos about that specific part, where it's like Zelda is supposed to be like our wife or something like that. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Alright, I'm a baby, so I'm just gonna fight this guy like this. Alright, there we go. Much better. It takes 8 hits to beat that guy. And then when you it normally takes 8 hits to beat that guy, and that guy's really hard to beat. It's actually he's actually your first really difficult enemy to defeat in this game, which is really bad for this early in the game, because he does 1 heart of damage if he hits you. And you know, you only have 3 hearts to work with, and so having only 3 hearts, and that guy does 1 heart of damage, and he's a really hard enemy, it's so bad. But luckily, we were able to get through that just fine, so we don't have to worry about that guy anymore. At least, maybe not for a while or something like that. But anyway, we rescued Zelda now. Wow, already, which means the game is over. Except it's not. Otherwise, that would be way too easy. Casually, this game is a very difficult game. Like, when you're playing this for your first time, everything hurts, and you have very little iframes to work with. So hopefully I don't die. That would be a very bad thing if we died. But our next objective after saving Zelda is to escort her to the sanctuary, and supposedly she knows a secret path in order to get to the sanctuary through like some secret path in the castle, which is what we're doing now. So now we're going through a few dark rooms, and then soon we're about to head over to like a couple sewers, which is very bizarre. Like, it's crazy how like she knows how to get through this place, because, you know, how many times has she been through this versus how many times have I been through this? It's I don't know. It's so bizarre. In the dark rooms, you can, with the lamp that we have right now, you can use it to light up the rooms so that you can see where you're going. So it makes navigating through those dark rooms just a little bit easier. There's also like these rats and snakes, and you want to be careful of them. They don't really hurt, but when you get hit by a bunch of them at a time, it does get kind of annoying. But we're through the sewer section now, so it wasn't it's not super complicated to go through. I mean, the only hard part is just knowing where to go, because that room is dark. But yeah, so now the priest says that he's going to protect Zelda in the sanctuary, and that everybody is now after us because apparently, when we took Zelda out of the jail, it's a bad thing. But if you miss what's going on, there's like a wizard named Aghanim who just appeared out of nowhere and just like destroyed the King of Hyrule, and then basically possessed the soldiers. And now all the soldiers are under Aghanim's control, and Aghanim wants to access a place called the Golden Land. And the Golden Land is where like all your wishes will come true, and then everybody who's tried to go to the Golden Land has failed and has never returned and found themselves in despair, which is bad. But Aghanim wants to just go to the Golden Land. However, it's sealed off by the Seven Sages, and the Seven Sages are well, the Seven Maidens have powers that are connected with the Seven Sages, and so in order to get rid of the Seven Sages seal of the Golden Land, Aghanim tries to get rid of the Seven Maidens, and he successfully got rid of 6 out of 7 maidens, and he only has 1 maiden to get rid of, which is Zelda. So, you know, he has to get rid. So, you know, as soon as Zelda is got rid of, then he can get to the Golden Land. But obviously, we want to prevent that from happening, because if he does get to the Golden Land, then the world's taken over, and that's a bad thing. So we're trying to prevent that from happening, basically. Now I've been talking about that the whole time, and not enough of the game. So now that we saved Zelda, the priest suggests that we go to a place, to like the nearest place, which is Kakariko Village. And yes, you can do that as a side objective, but going there right now is kind of a little bit out of the way, so I'm not going to be doing any of the stuff for Kakariko Village right now. Okay, nice. Normally in that room, you're supposed to kill off all the enemies, but if you just damage boost through those anti-fairies, then you can grab the pot and hit the switch without needing to kill all the enemies. So a little bit tricky, but it's not super difficult to do. Alright, so now we got the item of the dungeon of East Palace, which is the bow. And the bow is pretty powerful. Look at that! I just killed that guy in 1 hit. Normally that guy takes like 4 sword slashes or something crazy like that. It's no fun. Also, since I am playing the Gameboy Advance version, which is a very unpopular version to play on, most people don't really like to play on the Gameboy Advance version because the screen's smaller, and the graphics are a little bit washed up. And also, every time Link swings the sword around, you hear his voice. So you know, if you haven't grew up with Ocarina of Time, then you'll probably hate this this version of Link to the Past. Boom! There we go. All right, so that fight is really easy. I actually did that fight very specifically, so that the last Armos that I defeat was going to have. Well, I only need to shoot 1 arrow, because the last Armos in that fight is supposed to turn red, and when it turns red, it gains all of its HP back, and that's a bad thing. When it gains all of its HP back. You saw earlier, before I entered the boss fight, that I stocked up on arrows, because if I ran out of arrows before that guy turned red, then that would have been a bad thing, and that would not be fun. Alright, so now that we completed Eastern Palace, we can now go over to Sahasrara over there, and he is going to give us a very good item, which is the Pegasus boots. And the Pegasus boots allows us to go fast. So you're gonna be seeing me dashing a lot now, and this is why going to Eastern Palace right after saving Zelda is very convenient. And that is so I can, and that's because like walking around Kakariko Village like right off the bat is just way out of the way, which wouldn't be fun. All right, but actually I'm not gonna be doing any of the stuff in Kakariko Village right now. And that's because we have to go back there anyway in the game. So it's just more convenient to, like, when I actually have to go back there again to do all that stuff then. Because it'll just be easier. But yeah, so I'm missing a lot of items right now. And instead, we're going to head over to the next dungeon right off the bats. We're already, in case you haven't noticed, and you haven't went back to watch my old LP, I'm already ahead of my old LP. And that's because when I LP'd the game, I had only beaten the game, roughly, like, well, actually, I've beaten the game several times before I LP'd the game at the time. But I'm a lot more experienced in this game now than my original playthrough. So we're gonna kind of breeze through this game a little bit. Also, what? That's a really weird mistake that happened there. Alright, so Desert Palace is kind of your first kind of complicated dungeon, because as you can see there's a bunch of rooms. But if you know where you're going, then you really only have to go through like 4 rooms, and that's pretty much it. Also, book does nothing, so I kind of just like to do that for fun, and it's a fun little thing I like to do. Alright, you're noticing that I'm like skipping over like a lot of treasure chests, and that's because I know what those treasure chests contain, and I don't need a lot of them. So if I don't need whatever's in those treasure chests, then I'm not gonna pick them up. I'm also not gonna be picking up any of the maps or compasses, because that would be slow. And I already know my way around, so I don't need the maps or compasses. Instead, we get the Power Glove right here, and the Power Glove allows you to pick up rocks. Only some rocks, though. You can't pick up every rock. You can't pick up the dark-colored rocks. You can only pick up the white ones. But that's okay. Alright, so there's actually this dungeon is pretty unique in the fact that there's actually 2 parts in this dungeon. So we just got through the first part. And now we're going to head on to the second part, which is over here. And this is where the Power Glove comes in handy. You cannot access the second part without the Power Glove. Okay, so there, you would normally bonk if you dash over, if you just dash into a locked door like that. But it's very specific because you have to be, it's every 4th pixel where you can dash through a locked door without bonking. Sounds complicated, but there are sometimes objects, well, most of the time there are objects that'll allow you to line yourself up like so that you can conveniently dash through a locked door. Alright, so now we're about to fight a kind of difficult fight. we'll see how this goes. Alright, so this is Landmolus. And, you're normally supposed to, it takes like 8 hits with your sword to beat him normally. But arrows are pretty powerful, like I said. And you can, shoot 4 arrows to beat every single Landmolus. And also, what makes this fight a pain is that, these guys like jump all over the place, and it's and they're pretty random. But that fight was okay because yeah, that fight was okay because I didn't have to waste too many arrows on that guy, so that's fine. And actually, I just used up 12 arrows, and that's actually like the good amount of arrows to use there, so that's nice. Alright, I'm going to save here because that is going to be it for this episode of The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Since I'm going through this game really fast, I don't want to make the LP too short, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do as much as I can in 15 minutes. So, in this case, my timer says 16 minutes, even though the video is 21 minutes. So, that is going to be it for this episode of The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. And next time, we're going to be heading our way to the 3rd dungeon, as Sahasra says that we need 3 pendants in order to obtain something really good. So, we're on our way to the 3rd dungeon in the next episode, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.